Hello guys, bersama saya lagi dalam ORAITNOPO channel. So, antara isu panas seluruh ASEAN adalah berkaitan dengan tarif yang dikenakan oleh Amerika Serikat Donald Trump. Jadi, saya ingin membawakan Anda ucapan penutup dari Menteri Miti Tengku Zafrul ya untuk ASEAN meeting pelaburan yang diadakan di negara kita untuk tahun 2025 ini. Jadi tanpa buang masa, ayo kita bersama-sama untuk menonton ucapan daripada Tengku Zafrul.
General of Treasury, Ministry of Finance, Dato' Muhammad Faiz Azmi, Executive Chairman of Securities Commission Malaysia. Not sure who else is here. Carol Fong, Group CEO, CGS International Securities Group, and also, who's here? I must make sure I mention all the sponsors, I was told. Is Dato' Muhammad Rashid here? Yes, Dato' Muhammad Rashid, yes. Rashid, Managing Director, and also Wan Razli Abdullah. He's not a sponsor. Oh, he is. Anyway, I'm so glad to see so many people still in this room. I thought by the time Johan was up here, there will be no one here. So I guess after Dr. Johan finished, then you all came back in. So good evening and Salam Malaysia Madani. Again, it's really truly a privilege for me to close today's discussion, particularly here in Kuala Lumpur as Malaysia chairs ASEAN in 2025. Over the course of today, we've heard many perspectives. I was told that from finance ministers to founders, as well as from regional policy makers to international investors. But beyond panels and data points, there is a shared understanding that has come through clearly, which is ASEAN is important, and ASEAN is at a pivotal moment that will determine the future of ASEAN, its future prosperity for decades to come. And I must talk a bit about the tariff, of course, right? Given the recent US tariff announcement, how ASEAN response could make or break the steady growth trajectory that this region has enjoyed, especially what we have enjoyed the last 10 years. And as chair of ASEAN this year, helping ASEAN to navigate such turbulent waters ahead is a huge responsibility for Malaysia. So we take this responsibility seriously to ensure the continued economic prosperity and security of this peaceful region. So we really need to continue what our forefathers had worked so hard to achieve. And since April 2nd, many questions have been raised on ASEAN's future. So can ASEAN continue growing? How will ASEAN continue to integrate economically given the potential shift in global trade and supply chain dynamics? So can ASEAN actually speak in a single voice, with a single voice? Can we collectively insist on a rule-based, transparent, open trade and investment landscape? So on one that will secure a better, more inclusive and more sustainable world for ASEAN. So ladies and gentlemen, let me begin with the fundamentals. Most of you are aware anyway, but let me repeat it or remind all of you. ASEAN is home to approximately 680 million people, more than the EU, and third only to China and India, right? ASEAN's combined GDP reached $3.6 trillion last year, making us the fifth largest economic bloc. We're also younger, digitizing at a faster rate, and more urbanized than many developed regions. So all these are strengths that we can leverage on. In terms of trade and investments, trade in goods stood at $3.8 trillion. Trade in services hit more than $933 billion and ASEAN attracted $224 billion in FDI last year, in 2024, despite global headwinds. So as much as ASEAN would like to diversify its trading and investment partners, this is for better or for worse, one relationship stands out and demands immediate attention, which is ASEAN's economic ties with the United States. In 2023, ASEAN's exports to the US reached over $269 billion, from a total two-way trade of $395 billion. So that equates to a trade surplus of almost $126 billion in ASEAN's favor. This is a testament to ASEAN's competitiveness and ability to consistently deliver high-quality, cost-effective products that support global supply chains. So ASEAN's exports include advanced electronics, machinery, medical equipment, medical components, digital services. This is really all products that are important to power industries of the future. Malaysia's contribution to those numbers is also sizable. In 2024 alone, Malaysia exported nearly 200 billion ringgit to US, that's around 45 billion US dollars, out of total bilateral trade worth 73 billion US dollars. Our top exports mirror the sectors driving global transformation, which is from E&E and semiconductors to medical devices and other manufactured products, all essential to global humanity's quest for a digital, modern, and sustainable lifestyle. And today, ASEAN's future growth is at risk of being seriously derailed. The recent US tariff announcements really has rocked the markets and created uncertainty, particularly for open trading nations and highly export-driven economies like Malaysia, Singapore, Indonesia, Thailand, Vietnam, and even Philippines. So, ASEAN must stand united. As chair of ASEAN this year, Malaysia will chair a special ASEAN Economic Ministers meeting this Thursday, the day after tomorrow, to craft a unified ASEAN response. Because standing united will help us engage more constructively and, most importantly, with strength. So ASEAN is only as strong as its weakest link, which is why we need to support each other to see the region through these trying times. This is also why, during the ASEAN Economic Ministers Retreat in February this year, that was in Desaru, in Johor, we already set up the ASEAN Geo-Economic Task Force, whose membership consists of all deputy trade and economic ministers within ASEAN to look into economic challenges at the regional level, including tariffs. Similarly, Malaysia, under the leadership of our Prime Minister, Dr. Sri Anwar Ibrahim, has activated the National Geo-Economic Command Center, we call it NGCC. This is a whole-of-government approach. It's a whole-of-government unit mandated to assess the exposure, to coordinate interagency responses, and protect national economic interests through clear, data-driven strategy. So while the global environment may be shifting, our resolve remains steady. So ASEAN member states, or AMS, must remain calm and collaborative to prepare our region for the turbulent times ahead and to prepare better. So ladies and gentlemen, so how can ASEAN countries prepare themselves? In our opinion, continued investment and industrial reforms are key. Given our strategic neutrality, location, and industrial capabilities, ASEAN, with its members' complementary strengths, have developed well into a high-value industrial base and services hub for the world. Beyond ASEAN's neutrality and centrality, we are serious about continuing to build ASEAN's industrial capacity. On this, Malaysia will host the ASEAN +3 dialogue on semiconductors and strategic supply chains later this year. Malaysia wants to drive collaboration on regional supply chain diversification, talent development, and innovation in next-generation semiconductor design and manufacturing. The two core principles that our chairmanship is anchored on inclusivity and sustainability will also help us translate these ambitions into real outcomes through 4 key strategic trusts and 18 PEDs, or Priority Economic Deliverables. Among the PEDs that are key to ASEAN's united front in facing US tariffs include 1, the upgrading of the ASEAN Trade in Goods Agreement, the ATIGA. So we are determined to advance negotiations on reducing non-tariff barriers, streamlining regulations, and creating a more efficient, transparent supply chains across the region. 2, we also aim to finalize negotiations on the ASEAN Digital Economy Framework Agreement, or DEFA, under Malaysia's chairmanship year. This will be ASEAN's first legally binding pact on the digital economy, covering data flows, cybersecurity, AI governance, and digital inclusion. Number 3, the upgrading of ASEAN-China FTA, as well as the ASEAN-India Trade in Goods Agreement, will help us diversify and deepen ASEAN's trading relationship with both highly populous countries. And number 4, ASEAN will also look to fully utilizing the Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership, or RCEP, with partners such as Australia, China, Japan, and South Korea. Yeah, this is really, if you look at the numbers, it represents 30% of global population and 30% of global GDP. I must add that all these agreements will be nothing if our micro, small, medium enterprises, which make around 97% of our businesses across ASEAN, are left behind. So with the onslaught of US tariffs, there is more reason to support our small companies, our micro, small, medium enterprises. Aside from the establishment of the ASEAN Center of Excellence for Green MSMEs, we have to also look at other ways to empower smaller businesses with the right support for their survivability in these trying times. Malaysia itself is helping to reshape ASEAN's economic destiny and reinforce its position in the global stage in various ways. First, our economic transformation via our new Industrial Master Plan, NIMP 2030. This is a broad strategy to develop, look at structural reforms, designed to elevate Malaysia's position in global value chains and also align our economy with the technologies and industries of the future. This is gaining traction, and if you look at the figures for the year 2024, the manufacturing sector value added rose by 4% year on year, reaching close to $90 billion, as well as employment and wages. And Malaysia is also implementing targeted financing tool for NIMP. I believe Dr. Johan mentioned about co-investment fund, COSIF, right? And we have the NIMP strategic COSIF as well. This is a public-private investment platform designed to unlock growth for high-potential Malaysian companies. In fact, later this evening, I was instructed by SC Chairman to meet 12 dynamic, I was asked to 12 dynamic mid-tier, the speech says instructed, mid-tier firms and SMEs, each seeking to raise between $3 million and $30 million. This is to help enable them to do deals even across cross-border deals and innovate and build a regional competitive edge. Alongside COSIF, we also have Scale MySIF. This is our public-private co-investment success story. I think Memoyaf have touched on this many times, and it is really a good story to talk about or to share. Invested $270 million in growth stage enterprises, for example, and supported more than 9,000 MSMEs across more than 70,000 campaigns. And this talk about equity crowdfunding and peer-to-peer platforms. This is how, to me, we are translating policy into practice and intent into impact. Right? Malaysia's achievement is ASEAN's achievement. So we are open to share with other ASEAN member states on how we have curated and implemented the NIMP 2030 to get results that are tangible. Ladies and gentlemen, what I just shared are in alignment with the general objective of today's conference. I look forward to receiving the findings of this conference, I think gathered from about 600 esteemed participants from across the public and private sectors, development institution and investment communities as well. Additionally, the launch of 3 catalytic initiatives at this AIC 2025 which is the ASEAN Simplified ESG Disclosure Guide for SMEs, the ASEAN Investment Challenge, and the Fractional Shares Trading Platform. Still, you can trade just by putting in RM1. This hopefully, and I believe it will, forward ASEAN's ambition as a preferred investment hub for the rest of the world. And all this could not come sooner, just as ASEAN member states needs to unite more resolutely to forge ahead as one body, one voice, one negotiating party, with whoever is open and progressive enough to see ASEAN's real value. What's our real value as a trading and investment partner? So, ladies and gentlemen, where do we go from here? The conference will prove itself as a platform, not just a conversation, but most importantly, for coordination, capital, and commitment. But the challenge ahead is huge, it's not small. This is a test to me to see our foundations and truly the spirit, whether the spirit are strong enough for us to go through these difficult times. I believe this is a test ASEAN will pass with flying colors, provided we stay the course, we stick to our guns and take proper ownership of ASEAN's collective future. Malaysia is ready, ASEAN is ready, so let us not lose this momentum. Let us build the bright ASEAN future we firmly believe in together. So thank you. Sekian wabillahi taufiq. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Yang Berhormat.